Mario Party may have its frustrating moments of agony and without a doubt can be cruel at times, but I seriously can't help but love it. There's just something about you and your pals moving around on a board and trying to screw each other over that's surprisingly addictive. After you and your competitors take your turns rolling dice blocks and moving around on the various boards, you all face off in these mini-games which you need to win in order to get a prize consisting of 10 coins. There are different varieties including 4-player, 1 vs 3, 2 vs 2, battle, the list goes on. For the most part, they're the best parts of the game, but once in a while you get a few that are pretty, how do you say, piss poor. Which, there aren't many thankfully, but it doesn't excuse the games entirely for creating some real downers that'll make you want to go back to playing on the boards faster, or even worse, come face to face with Professor Killjoy. So after playing all of these here minigames from all of the Mario parties I've currently played, I've narrowed down 10 candidates that I consider to be the weakest in the Mario Party franchise. The only rules for this list are, I'm only picking minigames that are included when you play on the boards in Mario Party and battle for coins, no luck-based minigames or any of the rotating stick minigames from Mario Party 1, and no minigames from 10 Island Tour in advance. Alright, let's get down to business and experience the worst of the worst, cause it's gonna be a doozy. What a fitting way to start this sucker with my personal favorite Mario Party, Mario Party 6. It has the best everything in the Mario Party franchise. The best boards, the best modes, and of course, the best minigames. Just to name a few, it has Lift Leapers, Motown, Snow Brawl, I could go on here. In fact, there's hardly any minigames that I actually dislike from this installment that isn't luck-based. That is, except for the bitter ingredient from an otherwise tasty dish, Sumo of Doomo. The challenge here is simple. You have to be the first person to knock your opponent off the arena, while every few seconds the thwomp in the back will pound on the ground to knock down some of the platform. It seems simple, but the reason I chose this minigame is because the controls of the vehicle you're driving in are pretty darn wonky. You use the C stick to control the right tires and the control stick to move the left tires. Maybe it's just me, but the vehicle's confusing to control even if you're just trying to back up or go full throttle into your opponent. So in return, the players will have more time trying to figure out the controls while you try and knock each other off, all the while you worry about Thwomp destroying the platform you're battling on. But at the same time, I still get a little bit of enjoyment out of this, much like every other Mario Party 6 minigame, which is why it's nowhere higher. Here comes another dual minigame with the introduction of Mario Party 7's Light Speed. You simply use hover cars to glide over tiles with your specific color, and by the end of 30 seconds, the tiles will return to normal until one player's tile's color is completely gone. Whoever's color tile stays intact wins. What's wrong with this exactly? Well, you see, Sumo of Doomo, despite having wonky and confusing controls, still felt evenly matched and had a little bit of entertainment value. Light Speed, on the other hand, is the exact opposite, since you can easily cover up all the tiles with your color and get behind your opponent the entire time, not giving them a slight chance to make a comeback. I mean, they do have two separate warps, but come on, what's that gonna change? Many of you might debate on this and say that other Mario Party 7 minigames are worse than this, but given that this is a dual minigame where you can easily beat your opponent, I felt like it should be on here. Trust me guys, it was really damn hard to pick just one minigame from Mario Party 7 that I thought was the worst. Speaking of which, that could be said for the next Mario Party coming up. Okay, it was tricky to pick just one minigame for this placement as well, considering that it's from the very first Mario Party. Not counting the ever so infamous rotating stick minigames, Mario Party 1 easily has what I consider to be the worst lineup of minigames. In fact, I only like about 70% of the minigames and dread the other 30%. There were several options I could have put here. Handcar Havoc, Skateboard Scamper, Piranha's Pursuit, those are just the tips of the iceberg. But after playing through the whole list, I would consider Bash and Cash the worst in the game. Now you see, the solo player is in a Bowser suit standing off against his three opponents who carry a hammer. What do you do here? Well, not much really, just run around bashing the one player's head off to take away their money. And can the solo player fight back? Nope, nada, not in the slightest. All the single player can do is run away from these psycho serial assaulters hoping that he doesn't get hit. which wouldn't be so hard, but the playing field is so damn small that it feels like you're crammed in an elevator if that said elevator was a round circular dungeon. On top of that, since the one player is in a Bowser suit, you walk a bit slower than the other players, making it even harder for you to avoid getting hit by the hammers. You can bounce on their heads, yeah, but they can still be able to smash you to steal your money. Hell, it could probably make you an easier target. I'm just throwing this out there, but if you're playing solo and you're able to go the entire 30 seconds without losing any of your coins, then you know what? By all means, pop out your champagne and congratulate yourself since it's almost, just almost, near impossible to do. Chances are you're always going to lose money playing by yourself against a team of 3. There's even the possibility where only one person can get money that they stole if your teammates are unable to get money from the one player. And if the one player miraculously escapes the wrath of the team, nobody gets anything. Not even a 10-coin prize for the one player putting up with all of that. It's basically a scenario where it's either one side always will get something, if lucky, or nobody gets anything. How nice. Aside from being little fun side games to break up the board game aspect, Mario Party's minigames don't feel like they go out of your way to make you look like an asshole. Sure, we're all aware that Mario Party is infamous for its luck-based mechanics and letting the players do cruel actions to each other, but when it comes to the minigames, they would never go that far. Or at least I would stand by that statement, but then Mario Party 9 and Bumper Bubbles happened. All of the players are in a bubble and have to collect as many balloons as you can, all while dodging these spiky balls. If you get popped, you lose all of the balloons you're carrying. This minigame is stressful enough having to get more balloons than your opponents and avoiding these spiky balls, but what makes this minigame downright frustrating is that your opponents can actually bump into you, where ultimately will be the main cause as to why you lose all of your balloons. Which, again, seems out of place because all of Mario Party's minigames would never go as far as forcing the players to pull a dick move on you in order to win. What a great idea for a minigame to make the players think, yeah, maybe if I bump these fuckers into those damn balls, I'll win the minigame unscathed. Excellent. Not to mention, this also raises a question. Since your bubble also gets bigger with each balloon you collect, why even bother getting as many balloons as you can? Because the bigger you get, the more likely you are to get popped, so you might as well just grab 1 or 2 balloons, let the other players battle it out and see what damage is caused. Then at the very last second, try to collect as many balloons as you can compared to your opponents. There's really no point to even try that much in this game, and that's most certainly not a good thing in these here Mario parties. So, button mashing. To me, it's not the worst thing contained in video games, but to say they're always fun would make me the laughing stock of the crowd. Especially considering that there are some scenarios with ridiculous button mashing sessions. And Mario Party is no exception with button mashing. Usually the button mashing video games are pretty tame and aren't really anything that bad. In fact, they can actually be fun once in a while. But then there's freaking Mecha Marathon from Mario Party 2. The whole purpose as to why this minigame is here is what you have to do for the actual button mashing. You see, in most of these types of minigames, you only have to mash a single button, or you have multiple buttons to use, i.e. minigames like Skateboard Scamper and Cheep Cheep Chase. And in those minigames, when you press another button that isn't the button you're mashing, it doesn't take away from the flow and pace of the minigames. Plus, you only have to press it a couple of times. But in Mecha Marathon, you have to mash both the A and the B button at the same time as fast as you can. Which, let's be honest here, you can't really get much distance, you'll wear yourself out and will have a hard time mashing 2 buttons right next to each other, which are the same size at the same time. To say that this minigame will get you exhausted, oh boy is that an understatement. Oh, I'm sure the AI can get through this minigame in a breeze and can play this minigame as if it was an everyday normal occurrence, but that's the problem. We're not machines. There's no way we can mash the fuck out of these 2 buttons at the same time as fast as we can. It's damn near impossible. Now, I know you're probably going to bring minigames like Button Mashers and Mario Medley in my face, but personally, Button Mashers, despite having to mash 6 different buttons at the same time, isn't really that difficult and you can mash the buttons with ease. And I know Mario Medley also has you mashing both the A and B buttons at the same time as well, but the object of that minigame is to not go too fast and murder the buttons on your controller. Otherwise, you'll get exhausted and you'll trail behind in that minigame. It's not like that in Mecha Marathon, considering you do have to wear yourself out and destroy these 2 buttons. And in the end, you probably won't even come close to beating your opponents, especially the AI. Alright, now, Mecha Marathon may be a stressful button masher, but at least I can push buttons and actually hit the buttons at a comfortable angle. That can't be said for Rail Riders from Mario Party DS. What you gotta do here is simply use the DS stylus to scroll up as fast as you can, and whoever builds the most speed to make the farthest jump is the winner. This minigame probably wouldn't make the list to begin with, hell, it probably wouldn't be considered worse than Mecha Marathon, but the issue here is that the DS screen provides little room for you to scroll up at a fast pace. You have to be in this uncomfortable position to scroll up as fast as you can, and it's hard to even scroll fast when your screen is this tiny and are, you know, human. These two minigames actually share the same issue. They both expect the player to have the strength of a robot or a steroid user. The only redeeming thing about Mecha Marathon is that, well, I take pushing buttons as fast as I can for about 10 seconds rather than struggle to scroll up with the DS stylus. Had there been a way to find a comfortable angle to scroll on your screen, the placements for Rail Riders and Mecha Marathon would have changed. But as it is, you're gonna wear your arm out and struggle to go very far compared to your opponents. Just more stressful and uncomfortable compared to Mecha Marathon. Mario Party 4 would have to take second place for my favorite installment in the Mario Party series. The minigames are an absolute factor to that because, like with 6, the minigame selection here is really damn strong. It contains the likes of Photo Finish, Team Treasure Track, Chain Chomp Fever, Stamp Out, and one of the best minigames ever in the whole entire series, Dungeon Duos. In fact, like with 6 as well, 4 too has very little minigames that I genuinely hate. But for the ones I actually do hate, oh boy do they drop the ball on this one. And I think you all know exactly which minigame I'm gonna put on here. Yep, that's right, Makin' Waves. Just hear me out on this one, okay? Candlelight Flight is considered the worst minigame in this installment due to how dark the area is, and the controls feel incredibly awkward. But for me, that's what made the minigame tight and intense. I guess that's why I kinda like that one a little bit. Makin' Waves is all around infuriating for one side and pathetically easy for the other. The one player is on a platform in the center of the pool and has to keep their balance on it as the 3 players try to knock him or her into the water with their small rafts by, well, making waves by ground pounding. Let me tell you, the times where I've seen the one player lose this minigame were quite goddamn rare, because it feels almost impossible to knock the one player off the platform. It feels like no matter how hard the 3 players try, they're almost never able to knock the one player into the water. The one player hardly even has to move in order to stay afloat and keep balance. In fact, one of the only ways that they can actually lose this game is if they hog one side of the platform too much. Otherwise, they have smooth sailing from there. Mario Party usually tends to balance the 1 vs 3 minigames, but clearly, that thought process didn't go into this one. Come on guys, don't slack on the job like that. One thing you might have noticed in Makin' Waves was that it feels like there's a gigantic bias for one side. If there's one thing I hate, it's one team getting a higher advantage over the other team. And if you thought that Makin' Waves seems pretty guilty in that department, then you better give Heatstroke a death sentence. At first glance, the minigame doesn't seem all that bad. The one player is in the air and uses a hammer to knock off 8 platforms that a team of 3 is standing on. Simple concept, easily understandable rules, seems pretty fair, right? But mind you that this is Mario Party. They like to throw in some bullshit any chance they get. Because with just one button action, the game becomes incredibly unbalanced. The one player can use the B button to fake swing to fake the other players out. Now the chances of the 3 players actually winning the game are narrowed down to, let's say, about 0.1%. Sure, the fake swing doesn't sound that bad, but since both the actual swing and the fake one look identical to one another, it's literally impossible for the team of 3 to see if the one player is faking them out or not. So all the 3 players can do is take a wild guess game and hope they guess correctly. Otherwise, if they guess wrong and fall for the fake, they won't be able to react in time to jump again and they'll get knocked off with the platform. And to add insult to injury, 3 Potaboos will fall out of nowhere and gives the team barely any time to get out of the way. If they touch these flaming turds, that'll get them eliminated as well. That's essentially why this minigame is so terrible, since the one player will more than likely win this minigame no matter what because of the humongous unfair advantage. The only times the 3 players will actually win is if the one player runs out of time fake swinging, or if their luck pays off for them and they actually go through all of the platforms. Look, there's having just enough power, and then there's just having way too much power. Just give everyone a fair chance, will ya? I'm having so much fun! Okay, who's responsible? Who's the wise fucko who came up with this shit? This has got to be the most boring minigame to ever come out of Mario Party to date. All you do in Rudder Madness is guide a lily pad through mud to reach the finish line, racing at a speed the equivalent of an old man taking a piggyback ride. On a fucking slug. And the minigame wouldn't be nearly as bad as I'm making it out to be, but you barely have to move your Wii remote to move around. It's a minigame where you barely do jack shit. You just have to be sure not to bump into the other players or rocks blocking your way, which isn't even that hard, trust me. And you know what? This minigame might have actually been good if more thought was put into it. They could have replaced the mud with water, throw in some obstacles like waterfalls, frogs, whirlpools, stuff like that. Not to say it's anything out of this world or anything like that, but at least that in itself would actually be fun. But nope, racing on a lily pad at 5 miles an hour in mud. That's what we get. Good on you, you geniuses. So as usual, before we go to the number 1 spot, here are some dishonorable mentions. Piranha's Pursuit from Mario Party 1, Sneak and Snore from Mario Party 2, Ice Rink Risk from Mario Party 3, Cheap Cheap Sweep from Mario Party 4, Vicious Bending from Mario Party 5, Gondola Glide from Mario Party 6, Bubble Brawl from Mario Party 7, Eye on the Prize from Mario Party 8, Smash Compactor from Mario Party 9, and Cherry Go Round from Mario Party DS. One thing you might have noticed is that every minigame up until this point have one thing in common. They're rather short. Which is good, since it breaks up the board game aspect to let the players have a little side fun. It gives the players a decent amount of time to play on the boards, play a minigame, and then repeat. It's a nice little balance if you ask me. So what's the worst thing you could possibly do to ruin that balance? How about a minigame that lasts way far too long that I swear I could take a shower faster than that said minigame? Welcome to The Beat Goes On from Mario Party 3, you poor souls! Boy, this minigame's title is so goddamn fitting. You're damn right, the beat does go on. A little too long. Why? Well, in the minigame itself, you have to remember a distinct pattern of drum beats. A Shy Guy will start the first 4 drum beats, and then everyone else has to copy that pattern while adding a new one. If you hit the wrong drum beat, you're eliminated. Yeah, I wasn't joking when I said that this minigame is pretty freaking long. Most Mario Party minigames usually take about less than a minute to complete, which, to me, is enough time to break up the board game aspect with these minigames. And with minigames that did last more than a minute, at least felt intense and didn't feel dragged on, or actually fascinated me with how long a minigame that's actually short can really truly last. None of that could be said for The Beat Goes On. It can take, I'm not even lying here, around 3 minutes and 30 seconds to complete if all of you survive. And the reason why it lasts so long is because there's just so many damn drum beats it's hard to even keep track of. Seriously, how are you supposed to remember all of this shit? It's just too damn much. Oh, and you know what the insulting part is? If 3 players get wrecked, you win the game. If more than 2 people survive, get this. You draw. You fucking draw. Meaning it's the minigame's way of saying, yeah, fuck that shit, nobody wins, and nobody gets a reward out of that. Okay, I'm sorry, but I think I'm gonna have to use my bullshit card on that one. If everyone went through all of this crap for 3 minutes, they all deserve something out of that. Not to mention with every single other minigame, I'd argue that if you draw, you shouldn't gain anything out of that since the draw feels warranted because you didn't meet the objective, or more than 2 players that survived felt justified for a draw. I did what this minigame asked me to do. I felt pretty damn unjustified. I went through this brain-busting pressure of trying to remember this long-ass drum beat. So don't you shove that damn word in my face and tell me that we don't deserve anything out of that. That's ultimately what makes this the worst minigame for me. I don't feel satisfied and it feels pointless to even try and win this. Take the luck-based and rotating stick minigames out of the question. With every single other minigame in Mario Party, I feel like I got something out of them after putting forth the effort to playing them. Even the other 9 minigames I put on here, even freaking Rudder Madness and its slow-paced boringness, I felt like it was way worth playing through them and dealing with their shit. I don't get that here. In fact, this is the only time where I'd much rather throw the game away and not do a single thing and just let someone else win. Because goddammit, they earned that victory. This is the Hedgehog Ninja, and if I wanted to put up with remembering something overly long that stresses me the hell out, quite frankly, I'd much rather finish a puzzle. Or watch an episode of Full House.